In this video, I am just going to teach you what works and what I have found to be the best technique for me in the UK. Now, my technique may not suit you, so as always, it's about, seeing what works for me and maybe tweaking it a bit for yourself. The fire plough is a friction fire method which is most commonly associated with Polynesia. That is because the method has survived and been passed down through that indigenous culture. The fire plough is seen to be one of the simplest friction fire methods technology-wise, as it is simply rubbing two pieces of wood together. And through the act of rubbing two sticks together, you coax the fire out of wood, as is told in many of the old stories. Key factors of a fire plough. Knowledge is key. So without knowledge, you don't have much of a chance. So that's why I'm doing this video. So in the UK, I have found the two best woods for a fire plough are lime or tilia. This is also the same family as basswood, basswood in the States, and linden, which is found throughout Europe. Also poplar. So in the UK, the native poplar is black poplar, but sadly that is very rare now in the UK. Most species of poplar in the UK will be hybrids. The wood needs to be dead, it needs to be seasoned, not green, and it needs to be very, very dry. That is one of the most important things I have learnt with a fire plough. The fire plough can be affected very much by the damp. So if a piece of wood you're using gets damp, you may find that the fire plough is more difficult or may not even work. If a piece of wood has got damp, then dried, then got damp again, and dried, and got damp again and dried, you also find this could affect the composition of wood enough for it to affect the fire plough and the fire plough not to work. Similarly, if you try to do a fire plough in a damper day or a more humid day when there's more moisture in the air, you may also find it harder to coax an ember using the fire plough. I find, for me, it works better for branches which are about this size in thickness. So I find the bigger branches, and even thicker than this, I find when you go smaller, they don't work as well. And again, I think it's to do with the composition of wood. Smaller branches are younger, bigger branches are older. And again, the composition of the wood is going to be different in bigger branches and smaller branches, and that can affect the fire plough. And poplar branch I've just found, which is quite small. I wouldn't use that for the fire plough. It is far too small. But once you've found a branch like this, which is the right size, and it's been seasoned and it's very dry, rather than finding a smaller branch to make the blade, or we make all this plough, I found it best that you cut a section off the same piece of wood you're going to use for the half, cut a section off and use that for the plough. The reason for that is that this piece of wood is going to be the exact same density and composition as that piece of wood. And I have found with a plough that makes a huge difference. If your blade is the same density and composition as the half, then you've got a lot better chance of coaxing an ember. Now, I have used many variations of wood with a plough, but for consistency and effectiveness, I have found that using a lime blade on a lime half on the same piece of wood and a poplar blade on a poplar half on the same piece of wood is the most effective way in the UK of being able to coax an ember. So I'm going to cut a section off this piece of lime. I'll then batten out the blade. So I'll roughly batten out the blade from a piece of wood. So after a while, what I've done, I have battened and carved out a rough shape of a blade. This is one I made earlier. So you want it like a cuboid, so it's that long, and you want it roughly rectangular, uniform and straight. So at first it might be a little bit rough around the edges and not quite straight. So just want to spend a bit of time shaping it up. Now I'll do the end. I want the end about centimetre in width. Looking good, guess. It's about a centimetre wide. So look, it's square. And ski board is fairly straight. Now I'm going to round the edges off so it's comfortable to hold. You don't want the sharp edges because you put a lot of pressure on and that's going to hurt if it's sharp and you're not going to be able to apply as much pressure. So I'm just going to smooth. The key thing is you want it as straight as possible, because if it's bendy then it's going to go off at an angle when you try to go forwards and back. So there it is. And then with the rest of the piece of wood, which you'll use for the half, make sure that it lies flat on the ground, and so you want to shave off the top and bottom so it's flat on the bottom, so it's solid on the bottom, and you want it shaved off at the top so you've got a smooth surface to plough up and down. So I'll just shape this up now. So I've carved the bottom off and the top, and see what I'm doing. I've made a ridge there when I've carved this flat, and the wood kills forms a natural stop. So your blade will come to a stop, so it won't continue. So it stops you smashing through the dust pile. So you want the half solid. I use a log or big rock, put down on the end. You want it solid on the floor, and you want the ground to be firm and not soft. If that is loose, soft ground, then when you press down, that pressure is going to go through the wood into the soft ground, and you're not going to be able to apply as much pressure into the wood. Again, if this is rocking, this wood is rocking while you're doing it, again, the pressure you are applying down is going to get dissipated, and or isn't all going to go in there. With a plough, downward pressure is very, very important. You need to be applying as much pressure as physically possible onto that wood to be able to heat it up enough and ignite the fibres. So you want this to be solid. So hard ground underneath, heavy, this solid, so it's not moving. That is very important. The other thing is hand grip. So I use the overhand grip. We might call it Polynesian hand grip. You get hand like right hand over, left hand over, and then you plough like that. So one hand over like that, the other hand over like that. That allows you to apply a lot of pressure and works very effectively. The other important thing is posture. I realised I have a not very heavy body frame. I'm not big, I'm not muscly, and I realised you need to apply a lot of pressure. So I found for me it best worked if I kneel further away from where I'm ploughing, kneeling up, and then basically with a hand grip, I'm leaning forward and my body weight is pressing down onto the blade. So if this blade snapped, I would fall face forward. So you are hoping that blade is strong. But by adopting this position, I find I can apply a lot of downward pressure. And as well as using my body weight to fall down onto the blade, I'm also pressing down hard as well. So I find this works really well. To start off with, I'm going to start with small strokes. So with a hand grip, all I'm going to do is just start with small strokes, pressing down as hard as I can. Then I'm going to slowly lengthen those strokes. So this will take practice. Now you're just starting and stopping at the same time. Over time, more you practice, more muscle memory will kick in, and you will be able to start and stop in the same place with your eyes closed. If you go too long, then you've got further wood to heat. Go too small, your strokes are far too small, and you stop and then starting too soon. So my natural stroke length is probably about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 centimetres. Once I've burnt it in, once I've burnt it down, I can see the wood turning colour. There's a bit of dust forming. You can stop then if you like and have a bit of rake. Now, also when learning, you'll probably smash through a dust pile a lot, and that's why making a backstop is really good, because it stops you smashing through the dust pile. You want to make sure your groove is always shallow and doesn't have deep sides. If you're digging deep into the groove and you're getting sides, which will slow down the blade, so you want to shave it away so you've always got a flat groove. It'll be a lot easier and you can apply a lot more downward pressure. The blade will start to form its own shape. See, but you want to keep it square on the end. You don't want it pointed. If it's pointed, it'll push the dust to the side. If it's square, it's going to push the dust forward. Also, another thing what I'll do, I'll alternate which side of a blade I use, so it gets to a double sided blade. So like this one, you'll see I alternate the side of a blade. So in one go I'll use one side, and the next go I'll swap over and use the other side. It just means you can keep a uniform sort of blade and utilise both ends. But I keep it square, look. It's not pointed, it's still squared off at the end. Also, the angle of the blade can have a difference too. If you've got a low angle, you've got more surface area in contact with the half. So that means it's more wood, and it's good for starting off, so you don't dig too deep into the half. Go to a steeper angle, you can see there's less wood in touch with the board. Now this is good towards the end when you really want to build up the heat and try to ignite the ember. So with this you'll start to dig deep into the wood, so you only want to do this towards the end, and it's just practice and experimentation and finding what works for you. So with some softwoods you may find it's better to use a lower angle for most of the time, and then switch to a steeper angle towards the end. Other woods, which are maybe getting a bit stubborn, you may just want to go at a steeper angle for more time. So yeah, let's find out what works for you. So yeah, it's just practicing the stroke. So now I'm going to put all that into practice and hopefully show how we can coax an ember out of a wood. Welcome, welcome, welcome ancestral fire. I'm just going to prise the ember off the board without putting it out. I'll place a bundle on top, let's say over. And the ember is now in the bundle. Welcome, welcome, welcome ancestral fire.